Okay, so the recording has started.
Okay,
And I will now hand over to the Chair, Councillor Sheila Peacock.
thank you very much, Nath. Thank you. Welcome back to this meeting. As you know, this meeting has originally been adjourned on the 8th of August and then on September the 8th. So I'll recap the procedure from the beginning before we restart. And I'd ask you all to introduce yourselves. I am Councillor Sheila Peacock, and we have Councillor Nick DaCosta.
I'm Councillor Nick DaCosta, member for Highgate Ward.
Councillor Ibrahim.
Hi, I'm Councillor Amina Ibrahim, member for Knoll Park Ward.
And representing legal, we got Sadiko Rahman in place of Michelle Williams. Can you unmute yourself and speak?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Sadiko Rahman, a legal officer.
Okay. And we have Nashaba Shah, and we don't have Dahlia Barrett today, so Nashaba will be doing the speaking for her. And then we have the objectors for the Princess Banqueting Suite, which again is Nashaba Shah.
Yes, Councillor, it's me, licensing officer.
And I
No, sorry.
gather we have not either Bob McIver or Pierre Chenier. No, but we do have Derek Hewitt for the police.
Good evening, everybody. I'm PC Derek Hewitt. I'm the licensing officer for Enfield and Haringey.
And then we have the applicants for the Princess Banqueting Suite. So it's Daniel Serakayu, applicant. Daniel? He's on mute. You can Fabian's on mute as well. Is Alex Pathiti there? Daniel, can you introduce yourself? Daniel? We had trouble last time also with the computer and with the microphone, etc. What about Mr. Harry from Tech Solution?
Hello, hiya. I'm Harry.
Who's that?
Hello, good afternoon.
Which one is it?
Good evening.
Is that Alex?
I'm Alexander Pafiti.
And what about?
I'm Alexander Pafiti.
And Daniel?
To my right is Daniel Savard.
Okay.
Yes, he's to my right.
Okay, and then we've got Fabian Sims. I can't see you, Fabian. Are you there?
You keep breaking up, Miss Peacock.
Well, Fabian? Okay, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, can you hear me? Fabian Sims, licensing consultant.
Okay, thank you. And I've got Mr. Harry from Tech Solution Limited.
Hi, I'm Mr. Harry from Tech Solution, representing the safety issues.
Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available for public viewing. Now, I've received something from the chair of the licensing committee, and I'll just read it out to you. Please ensure your cameras are open and that you are muted when you're not speaking. If you have technical difficulties, please use the chat function. Please do not use the chat function for putting formal questions to the subcommittee. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. We will take all papers as read unless there's anything you wish to draw our attention to. All speakers will be allocated 5 minutes to speak. When speaking, please be succinct. Do not exceed the allotted time unless you request for an extension of time, which is at my discretion. So we'll move on. Any apologies for absence?
No apologies for absence, Councillor Peacock. Just a very, very minor point of order. Nashaba Shah is the presenting officer and so cannot be objecting as part of the licensing.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that.
One other point of order I regret, and that's me. I'm representing the applicants. My name is James Rankin.
Oh, thank you very much for that. I'll just put that down on the list. Okay, thank you very much for that. Any urgent business? No. Any declarations of interest? Do members have any declarations of interest? No.
No.
I'm having a big issue. She keeps breaking up. I can't hear everything she's saying.
Well, Anybody else have that problem?
I think that's a problem with their technology, not ours, because we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you. The procedure for the meeting has been emailed to all participants by NAS for the purposes of any members of the public watching. We will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the objectors will present their case to the committee, and applicant and the subcommittee will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the applicants will present their representation, and the subcommittee and objectors will have the opportunity to ask questions. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up, and then the meeting will conclude to allow the subcommittee to deliberate and reach a decision. This decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. So we're going to start to hear the application for a new premises license at Princess Banqueting Suite, 502 to 508 High Road, London, N17, and you have 5 minutes, Ms. Noshaba Shah, to start, please.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Barrett sends her apologies for not being present, but she has worked with the applicants, police and building control to move this matter forward since the initial meeting. The committee should note that since the initial hearing was adjourned, there has been some changes to Mr. Stegarius's application, which have brought clarification on a number of matters and welcomed by the RAs that have made representation. It is now clear that Mr. Stegario has in effect bought the company Sophie & Co, and therefore the lease for the premises at 502 to 508 High Road, N17. The initial operators, Mr. Mandacci and Ms. Kotlagut, are no longer involved at the premises, and Mr. Mandacci has been subject to a prosecution for unlicensed activity he had permitted at the venue during his tenure. Parkway Estate have accepted Mr. Stegario as the new lessee at the premises, even though they initially had no part in the sublease that is contained in the pack. The Police and Licensing Authority are at this point asking the subcommittee to determine the hours of operation if they consider the premises license application should be granted in its reduced, altered format. Mr. Rankin, the barrister now acting for Mr. Stegario, has put forward the following amendments. With regards to the hours, they've asked for 12 till midnight, Sunday to Thursday, plus 30 minutes, and 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday. These hours are not agreed by the licensing authority or the police. Friday and Saturday, 1 a.m. finish, closed to the public at 1:30 the latest. There was a condition offered in the operating schedule requesting the licensee may hold no more than 4 events per month for music, concert or ticketed events. And on these occasions, the licensee will have 8 SIA door staff. This has now fallen away and is not being requested. The second floor is also no longer included. And the condition on the license has been agreed. The second floor is not to be used by the public or hired out for the events. The conditions proposed by the police for CCTV, logbook and SIA staff are agreed. The numbers of people permitted outside in the smoking area, the police are happy to increase from what they have requested in the initial representation, but not as much as 25, as the doorway is also a means of escape and into the pathway, and will need to ensure smokers are not blocking the access. If the applicant can show a reduced number and how this will be managed. Smoking is only to be permitted at the front of the premises, no more than 3 patrons to be permitted to smoke outside the front of the premises at any one time. The number of smokers to be supervised by the member of staff when SIA is not in operation. Sorry, this was the original condition. No licensee activities shall take place at the premises until the items listed in the building control letter dated 7th of September 2022 have been carried out and assessed as satisfactory by the officer for the health and safety, at which time this condition shall be removed by the license from the license by the licensing authority. The main gate, which leads to the high street, must be kept in an open position. The gate stays open while the premises is in use. And the accessibility, there is a provision for disabled access has not been provided. The premises is now only on the first floor and does not have disabled access. The licensing process cannot be used to impose this requirement, but we encourage the applicants to address this requirement. That's the presentation on the report. Can I also at this point mention that the applicant and building control have submitted some paperwork, And if everyone is happy to include these in the pack, Chair, could they be included?
Is that agreed? Nick and Councillor Ibrahim, do you agree this?
Yes, I agree.
Yes?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Proceed, Shalva.
That was the report and the
Okay.
summary of the new conditions.
Okay. Right,
Okay,
so,
sorry, Chair, since there are no objections, I will then submit the documents alluded to in the chat for people to download. So if you could give me a couple of seconds to do that. Okay, I think the chat is blocking me from using it, so I'm going to have to email it out to all parties. So if you could stand by while I email.
thank you.
Okay, that's been sent.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I ask members, objectors and the applicant, do you wish to have an adjournment of 5 minutes to read it, being as it's gone to your emails, or can we continue? Can someone,
I'm
Councillor-
happy to continue.
Councillor Ibrahim? Councillor Da Costa?
I'm happy to continue.
Okay, thank you very much. So can I ask then, Councillor Ibrahim, have you any questions of Ms. Shah?
No.
Councillor Da Costa, have you any questions of Ms. Shah's report?
I do just wanted to get clarification on the revised hours proposed by the applicant. So the revised hours are now, if you could just repeat them, sorry about that.
That's fine. I'll just bring up the email from Mr. Rankin. Okay, so they want to go on 12 midnight on Sunday to Thursday with half an hour, 12:30 closing time.
Yeah.
2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday with half an hour, 2:30 closing time.
2 a.m. to 0200. 0230. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Have you any other questions?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Is there any from you, Derek? Have you got any objections? Any of the report? Any questions of the report? Derek, you're on mute.
Do apologise. I was looking at the email. I was deep in thought. No
Okay.
questions. I was going to mirror the additional timings, etc. Now I've got them. Not a big issue. And with reference to the SIA, can you refresh my memory, please, regarding the SIA numbers?
Yep.
I believe we, the police, asked for 4 operatives employed minimum.
Yes, sorry, I'm just picking it off from Mr. Rankin's
No problem.
email.
If I can help,
Yes.
happy with.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Happy with
Okay.
4. Thank you, Mr. Rankin.
Sure.
Appreciate that. No
Okay.
further questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the applicant, Alex or Daniel, you have any questions of the report?
No questions from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll now hear from the objectors, but I don't know how we're going to do this because neither Bob McIver or Pierre Cheney are here. And I'm sure that you've read their reports. Yes? So we go on to your report, Derek, from the police, please.
My colleague, as you know, Miss Kirsty Mitcham provided 2 reports for you. One was dated the 15th of July and proceeds the one that we have now. The second one was dated the 19th of January this year, whereby she highlighted that the applicant hadn't engaged with the local authority or the police. She clarified that on page 2, which I think has been alluded to by Ms. Shaw this evening, in that the applicant had recently, I'm reading page 2, had recently consulted with the local authority via email in relation to the application and had obviously shone a bit more light on the subject for us. It was then pointed out we had concerns as police that the applicant, Mr. Perfiti, and Mr. Stigaru had connections with the previous owner. That was our main concern. The previous owner, as it's been highlighted, is being prosecuted. We had concerns that they were linked with him, and I think that's been clarified now that they actually aren't. We then had concerns that there was lacking experience in the applicants in order to run such a premises that was of such a large capacity. Although it has now been clarified with our good selves, and Mr. Rankin has, we put forward representations of which our CCTV was accepted, alluded to by the local authority, and numerous other ones have been accepted as well, including the SIA. Smoking, no more than 3 patrons. I don't know whether that's been accepted or not. Refresh my memory at the end of my my sort of submission, if you would, please. And the big thing for us would now be the timings. Now you've asked for 12 till midnight on Sunday through to Thursday, with 30 minutes drinking up time, and a Friday and a Saturday being from closing time at 2 a.m. with a 02:30 dispersal end time. We would be concerned with the 2 a.m. closing over the Friday and the Saturday, and this will be based upon previous experience that the vast majority of the disorder occurred in the later hours of the licensing hours. It is open, obviously, to your good selves, the chair, as to whether you feel that the previous information laid before you would be of relevance now that the management has changed hands or not. However, we find that a lot of the crime and disorder, a lot of the violent type issues occurred in the later hours of the licensing hours. So that is a matter for your good selves. If we can allay those insecurities and fears, and the applicants can allay them to our satisfaction, then I can't see how there won't be. I can't see how there could be any objections on our part. But we just need some confidence in that area. Thus far, having listened to what's been said, I'm happy that we've managed to resolve most of the issues from our point of view. But again, it's just the hours that we are of concern, and that's my submission.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can I ask Councillor Ibrahim if you have any questions on Derek's report?
Yeah, obviously, my question would be, in terms of what you said about the later hours being the time where you see most disorder. Obviously, with an earlier closing time, in your experience, does that lead to a vast difference in that type of disorder, or does it just mean that the disorder just happens earlier in the evening as opposed to later on?
See what you mean. It's a double-edged sword, in as much as if you vary, in my experience, if you vary the hours and compress them to make them smaller, people tend to binge drink, in my experience.
Okay.
As a result of binge drinking, they tend to become more intoxicated earlier, and that could, again, in and of itself, over intoxication could lead to violence, etc. It is by closing them in the hours such as we were proposing, 23:30 to with a half hour's grace until 00 for i.e. midnight. As long as it's run properly, the SIA security, etc., are very mindful of the fact that people could possibly drink more, and there could be this sort of behaviour. I can't see any reason why there would be that amount of disorder based upon previous history. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a double-edged sword. It's a question of do we give them longer drinking hours in the hope that they will elongate and pace their drinking sessions, or do we curtail that and make it shorter so that the local residents, etc., when we're talking about public nuisance, and the dispersal is of an earlier time so that people leave and keep it very quiet for the local community. It's a tough one, but in my experience, people tend to the violence as elongated, drink longer for longer hours, and in my experience with these premises in particular, having looked at what my colleague has provided, as I've said, most of the violence is in the later hours. It's anecdotal in nature. I don't have any specific evidence as to why that is, but it's mostly around the 0200 hours or 130 hours, looking at the paperwork my colleagues submitted, etc. It's one of management, I would suggest.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank
Any
you.
more
That's
questions?
very helpful.
Okay. Councillor Da Costa, have you got any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. And the applicant, have you any questions of the police report?
No questions, madam.
Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Rankin, are you going to be speaking up on behalf of the applicant?
I will, and I promise to be short.
Okay. Would you like to start now, if you don't mind, please?
Certainly. Insofar as Derek Ewart's concerns about the 2 a.m., everything else is virtually agreed. There are just one or two outstanding matters. And I think that Mr. Ewart made a mistake in respect of the hours Sunday to Thursday. I had understood in my extensive correspondence with Delia Barrett, I had understood that Sundays to Thursday was agreed at a terminal hour of midnight for the licensable activities plus half an hour drinking up time. That I thought was agreed. And I thought that the only outstanding matter then was the Friday and the Saturday. Please, can we have 2 o'clock plus 2:30, plus 30 minutes? Now, Derek Ewart correctly identifies anecdotal misbehaviour at the premises at the hands of Miss Kotlergut and at the hands of Mr. Mandaci. And you recall that Mr. Mandaci has been prosecuted for providing services during lockdown, unlicensable activities. But by all accounts, and these are anecdotal, they were a thoroughly bad lot. And what they were doing was that they were having events at the premises, which were promoted events. They'd have an outside DJ come in, outside DJs have their own followings, gangs get involved, etc., etc. What is proposed by Mr. Stigario and Mr. Perfiti is a world away from that. What they want is a function suite, and a function suite where they can put on weddings and christenings and bar mitzvahs and birthdays and funerals and other family celebrations, appealing to all cultures, the Greek, the Polish, the Romanian, the Albanian in particular. But what is not proposed is to have an outside promoter coming in with unknown people that have no affiliation or loyalty to the event that's taking place. And it was in the light of that that we were going to suggest that 2 o'clock is an appropriate terminal hour, because it prevents us having to, or obviates us from having to go back to you continually asking for temporary events notices in order to extend the hours. That by and large, these family celebrations are not the cause of disorder. By and large, outside promoted events are. And that's why when we agreed the raft of the conditions with Dahlia and Mr. Ewart, we specifically excluded externally promoted DJ events. Now, in addition to having those weddings and bar mitzvahs and the like, Mr. Perfitis, who has some 30 years experience in the licensed trade, running 2 premises over that period, one in Palmer's Green for 8.5 years called Efestio, and the other was a set of premises in Swish Cottage in Chingford, in a residential area with a late license. And what he held on those evenings was musical evenings. They would have a musical entertainer who would come in, and they would sit down and have a 3-course meal and listen to the singer. Now, I've proposed that's not going to happen every single Fridays and Saturday nights, but as and when the need arose, Mr. Perfitis wants to stage those sorts of events. Now, in agreeing a raft of conditions with the police, and unfortunately, it looks as if an email which I sent to Dahlia and which she promised faithfully would be placed before you before she took her leave, has not made its way in there. But I made some important concessions, and I hope that somewhere it's been noted down. And I'm going to speak slowly, just in case it hasn't. But what I proposed, in addition to the conditions that the police wanted about CCTV and the like, was 5 conditions. Firstly, that intoxicating liquor may only be sold or supplied to those persons taking table meals and for consumption by such persons as an ancillary to that table meal. And you'll get the point immediately. It's not a bar, although it would have a capacity of 250, those people would be seated and they would be having a 3-course meal. And that's a world away from a DJ promoted event where an outside DJ comes in and brings in his posse. Condition 2 then addresses that. There shall be no externally promoted DJ-led events at the premises. Obviously, there will be a DJ for a wedding, for example. Often they have live bands, and when the live band takes a break, then you have the DJ. We've all attended those weddings. So the idea wasn't to prevent DJs, it was just to prevent an externally promoted event led by a DJ. And then numbers should be restricted to 250, excluding staff. So we've cut away the second hall on the second floor completely. The question of smokers, there should be no more than 25. Well, the initial contact from the police says, well, we want 3. I wonder whether we can meet somewhere in the middle. In the documentation, I think it's page 178, and I don't know whether it's possible to put that on screen or whether I would. Is it possible to put it on the screen?
Is that possible?
Nashaba, if you could, I don't know if you can do it. Are you able to put it on the screen? It's certainly perfectly okay to do that.
Because it sort of identifies the smoking area. If I can just describe it whilst it's being put up on the screen. I see that Councillor Da Costa has it there. If you all have your order papers, if you all just turn to page 178, you'll see 3 photographs and then an ordnance survey plan in the centre of those 3 photographs. The first one shows the gates that Dahlia wanted pinned open during operational hours, and we're happy with that. And then you go down the alley and you'll see the entrance to the premises is marked with an arrow.
On the right, isn't it?
That's on the right, exactly. You'll see the smoking area is immediately opposite that. And the photograph of the smoking area is the right-hand photograph. It's got terrible graffiti on it, but that's the area. I'm sorry, it's the photograph of the smoking area is above, and that's a corner site. It's not overlooked by any residents, and it's in full view of the SIA who'll be stationed outside. And we believe that we can easily get 25. There it is. Thank you. Well done. We believe that we can easily get 25 people in there. Not everybody smokes nowadays, but some people still do. And what we were proposing was to have a post and rope arrangement there so that we could corral the smokers into that area where signs would be placed indicating that that was the smoking area.
Mr. Rankin, you know that previously there have been planning applications for that building that you're highlighting there. And should that building be reopened, you might have to come back to us about this.
Exactly. But for the moment, let's treat this application as that being our smoking area. And if in the future it causes problems, then obviously we can address that.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's an area which is far removed from any fire exits and will not be blocking passage of the people who are leaving the premises. And in the event of fire, there is no blockage that's caused by the people that would be there. If you wanted to impose a number greater than 3 and fewer than 20, we're content with that. Dare I suggest fewer than 25? Dare I suggest a figure of, say, 20 as being an appropriate number for smokers there? But there is no public access along that alley to any residential accommodation at the back.
That's right.
So there is Mr. Pafitis. He's got an impeccable track record, 30 years in the trade, not one objection or complaint to either of the 2 premises that he's run, and he intends to run these premises along the same lines that he has his other 2 premises. He's included in your order papers, which I know you've read, a dispersal policy and the operational manual, and that will be implemented. The operational manual has been updated, and you've got a copy of the update. So far as Mr. Shenny is concerned, it's regrettable, and I'm sorry about this, but Mr. Gary was, he employed another consultant, not, I insist, or emphasize, not Mr. Sims, who is thoroughly efficient and extremely good, but there is another consultant that was employed before Mr. Sims took over, And it was he, I'm afraid, that did not serve Mr. Stigario well. He took his fee and I'm afraid did not follow up. So all of the correspondence that you've seen with the police getting more and more frustrated, saying, well, you know, respond, please, to our emails. And the same with Dahlia. That was going to the consultant, but it was not going through to Mr. Stigario. So when Mr. Sims was on board and when I was on board, that's when the dialogue started. So it means that I can't say to you now, here and now, that all of the work that Mr. Chenier wanted to see has been complied with, because it hasn't. There may be one or two things outstanding. And that's why Dahlia and I both agreed that a works condition in the form that has already been described by Ms. Shah should be imposed. So we can't operate the premises until Mr. Chenier has finally appeared at the premises and satisfied himself that everything is in apple pie order. And the other conditions that I spoke about, yes, that's the fifth condition then. The license shall not be operative until the premises have been inspected by the responsible authority officer. And that condition has been added to by Ms. Barrett and Ms. Shah to require them to be absolutely satisfied that the premises are operational, can be operational from a public safety point of view. And you know, I think that's it, other than to say that the other conditions that you've got, so Ms. Barrett's conditions are at page 83 of the report. And with no offence to her, I said, could we use, please, PC Mitchum's conditions, which were rather more comprehensive. And I didn't want to have duplication. There are things that Ms. Barrett wanted that Ms. Mitchum also wanted, but with the greatest of respect to both of them, I prefer PC Mitchum's condition because they're very much more comprehensive and, dare I say, intelligible. So please then grant my application till 2 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays, plus an additional half hour. You do have the ability, and it's sometimes thought appropriate to have a later winding down period. So although I've said 2 o'clock and 2:30 for drinking up time, you can, if you wanted to, give us slightly longer drinking up time to allow for a slow dispersal from the premises.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rankin. Thank you for your very full representation. You must note that I gave you much more than 5 minutes.
You did.
I thought it was essential.
For hammer to fall.
No, I thought it's essential that you should explain, and as you have done so well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Ibrahim, have you any questions of Mr. Rankin?
Yes, I do. Mr. Rankin, obviously to the applicant as well, you said that the general onus of the events that will be taking place there will be weddings, bar mitzvahs, you know, family celebrations. I suppose my question would be, and, you know, I'm highly experienced in attending these types of events. You know, they're very, you know, important community events in this part of London, but they don't tend to go on till 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, they generally tend to finish earlier. At least that's my experience of the type of events that you're talking about. Now, obviously, I do understand that there'll be different types of events that may need to go on for longer. But I suppose that would be my question is, and I suppose that would be some of the question marks that I would have in my head, because obviously I do understand that you know, especially with events like that, you know, people do often want to go out and have a cigarette, etc., but they don't tend to go on for that long. At least that's not, you know, especially if they're family events. Having, you know, children out till 2 o'clock in the morning generally isn't a very common thing.
Ma'am, you make some very good points. Having attended those events, you will know that there are periods during the event. There's a period when the children go home. There's a period when those who are used to an early bedtime go home. But there is still a significant number that stay on as late as they can, because it's their opportunity to see family that they haven't seen for a long time, their opportunity to sit down and have a really good gossip. All of that is enabled for us by having a later terminal hour. It doesn't mean that every single wedding and every single bar mitzvah and every single wake is going to go on till 2 o'clock on a Friday and a Saturday. What it does mean is that we have the ability to do it should the need arise. So I have been, although I get invited to fewer weddings nowadays, but certainly I've been to weddings that have gone on later than 12 o'clock. I seem to go to more funerals now than I do weddings. But that is the weft and the weave of it.
Thank you.
Please give us the 2 o'clock so that we can host the events that need it.
Okay.
I've got one more question, if that's all right, and
Yes,
I suppose
that's
it might be Mr. Pafitis who answers it. I don't mind, but just if you. I mean, obviously, I am given some confidence in terms of what you've said about your experience of running these types of events. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Perhaps just kind of like the types of events that were that you know you've got experience in organising, because obviously the challenge is the dispersal, and obviously, you know, when people kind of, you know, leave an event, they all tend to leave at the same time, etc., etc. So, you know, I suppose that would be one of the concerns about how experienced you are in managing that. Just a little bit more elaboration would be really helpful. But also, sorry, I'll bring in the other question as well. You spoke about your experience, or you mentioned your experience in running kind of music events. Would that, what type of events are we talking about? So would it be, you're saying it wouldn't be DJ'd events, but it would be, say, for example, a singer maybe coming from abroad and you do a 3-course meal as part of it. Just if you could give some examples, that would be really helpful, because I do know about those types of events. I've attended them myself, so just a little bit more kind of elaboration would be really helpful.
Okay, Emine, if you don't mind me calling you Emine. Okay. The various functions that I've been in charge with and actively in control of running all aspects of the businesses, majority are to do with live entertainment, and obviously in between, and some have been with recorded entertainment via DJ or even background music. Personally, I've found, I'll bring up the dispersal policy. I've always found staggering people out is a better way, rather than imposing people out. Come on, get out. I've got 20 minutes, 25 minutes for everyone to be out here. Me personally, I've had later licenses and started getting people out earlier than the time necessary, or made a point of, like pubs used to be, last orders at the bar, just to remind them that we're due to close in the near future. I've never had any issues, one with licensing, two with police, in any of, I just want to correct James now, there's been 3 venues that I've been active via authority, i.e. being a DPS or owner of a premises license holder. My venue in Palmer's Green, the Festior live stage, catered for the Greek community, the Turkish community, the Romanian and the Albanian community, where we not only had the resident musicians, 4 singers, 3 instruments, we also brought in a DJ at various times, and also from, as you said, abroad, brought people in to give them a little taste of home as such. Again, I will reiterate, I haven't had any issues with licensing, with police, or even clientele. My record, everything, my record really speaks for itself. I'm not quite sure. Have I covered your?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Can I move
Yeah.
on now to Councillor Da Costa? Have you any questions, Councillor Da Costa, of Mr. Rankin's representation?
I do, if that's okay, Councillor Peacock. I mean, first off, just a comment. I think we've come significantly further in the last 2 months from where the application was in August, and actually the number of questions I have has reduced significantly compared to round 1 and round 2. So I'd like to thank the applicant, your agent, Mr. Rankin, for the work you've done on the application, because we're in a better place. Still got some questions, but we're better from where we were in August. I want a clarification with regards to fire exit, because I note that there is only one fire exit from the premises, and that leads into the alleyway, entrance alley. I'm not sure what we would call it. Obviously, if we have a venue of 250 people, how will exiting the building be managed in a way that's safe for people to leave, when you will also have potentially, hopefully not, but if there's a fire engines arriving, how will that be managed exiting the building in an emergency?
We have in your order papers, I think it's page 183, there's a fire safety certificate indicating all of the protocols that take place in the event of fire, and attesting to the fact that the fire officer is entirely satisfied with the arrangements that are there. But from a practical point of view, Alex, can you help me on this one? There's a fire. Let's hope not. There's a fire exit. How do you marshal people out of the building safely and efficiently and quickly?
Okay, when and if an issue like this transpires, hopefully it won't, we've got the 4 SIA security, predominantly 2 to 3 will be in the downstairs main entrance, but there will maybe 30 minutes or so a circulatory function for security to be guiding around the area. So based on the fact that they see something going wrong, I myself, staff, will begin to guide people out towards the fire exit. Now, we do have another fire exit in the kitchen, which leads to just next to the rear wall, as you can see, gated, no entry exit, the lower right-hand picture. Just to the right of that, there is another fire exit door there with the stairs that bring you from the upper level, which we won't be using, and also another staircase leading from the kitchen. Now, I'm really hoping it's not going to be imposed on us that it's only for staff, this kitchen, because I don't want to say to people, no, hang on, you've got to slow down, you've got to wait here, because I can't use that entrance over there because of stipulations. Now, me personally, I would have the use of both fire exits for each and every individual customer, staff, myself, and anybody else in the property to use both fire exits. I can't see a reason why we wouldn't be able to use that, but there is 2 fire exits.
Yes, the short point is this, that the fire officer is entirely satisfied that a capacity of 250, excluding staff, for the first floor is the figure that should be attached to any condition.
Councillor Ibrahim, can you wait till Councillor Da Costa has finished his questions? Councillor Da Costa, you have another question, or do you want to carry on with this one?
No, I'm happy with this one. I just wanted to get clarification, and I think that Ms. Shah mentioned it at the beginning. So I understand that Mr. Stigaro has now essentially taken over Sophie & Co. And Sophie & Co. is, because we had a previous discussion about subtenancies, and there is within the papers, there are some issues with regards to sub-leases which weren't recognised by the freeholders, etc. So just to get clarification, Mr. Stigaro has taken over operation of Sophie & Co., which is the tenant and will operate. Is that correct?
Yes. So what happened was that on the it was the 10th. No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Just a moment. It was the 4th of September, 2022. Mr. Stigaro bought Sophie & Co. And Miss Kotlegut, the previous occupier that ran the premises so badly, resigned as a director, and so Mr. Stigario then assumes the role of director. And the result of that is that the chain of ownership is that you have Muscat, who are the freeholders, Parkway Estates, who are the head lessees, and then the underlease is Sophie & Co, and that's Mr. Stigario. And that's an arrangement entirely approved of by Parkway Estates and the freeholder Muscat.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I just wanted clarification, because as you can see from the papers, there was a subtenancy agreement between Sophie and I think it was DMS Limited, which wasn't recognised by Parkway. So I just wanted that re-clarifying the new arrangement. Thank you. And that's me for now, Councillor Peacock. Happy to hand over to Councillor Ibrahim until I think of something else.
Okay, Councillor Ibrahim. You had a question.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute. So sorry, I forgot to, because I kind of started but didn't finish on the question about the amount of people smoking outside at any one time. Now, if your capacity is 250 people and you want 25 people to be allowed to smoke out, that's like 10%, or like 1 in 10 of the people in the venue at any one time would be out smoking. That is quite high. It's like also like the amount of like debris that would accumulate in terms of a fire risk as well. I think that, you know, why do you feel that you need so many people to be smoking outside at any one time?
The reason that I couched it in the terms that I did was precisely for that reason. If you think that 10% of the attendees is too high as a figure, then obviously you can cut that back. But we just wanted to give ourselves a comfortable cushion so that if there was an inspection and somebody was to count the number of smokers there, and there were, I don't know, 21 smokers there, we wanted that cushion just in case. But thankfully, as I've already said, it's not one of those cases where there are residents nearby that are going to be affected by it. And I imagine that Mr. Perfiti and all of his experience will enable staff to clear up any debris, and you will obviously, I imagine, be putting ashtrays and things out there for the cigarette butts, but giving that place a regular sweep in the morning and late at night.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is that you finished now, Councillor Ibrahim? Yeah, okay. Before I go to Mr. Hewitt, I have one question myself. And that is, you keep on mentioning about bar mitzvahs, and I'm really intrigued. Do you have a kosher kitchen? Because Jewish people will not attend a function if it's not got a kosher kitchen, which is really, really difficult for you to do. So could you explain to me how you would cater for a bar mitzvah? I don't understand that at all. Please, yeah.
Yeah, what we'll be doing in that instance, there will be an outside caterer involved in this, because as we know, certain creeds and races won't do business with anyone other than themselves, and all we will be providing is the function room, the event. Okay. The outside caterers, entertainers will be either all themselves, or we will have in our contact list these people that will be able to get in touch with them.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for clearing that up.
My pleasure.
Can I go over to you now, Derek? Have you any questions of Mr. Rankin's representation?
Yes, please, if you don't mind. Some of the stuff that just for clarification, you've mentioned you've sort of offered a figure of 25 and sort of then said that you'd, for smoking that is, and you said that you'd be willing to go towards 20, etc. With your 4 SIA security, you've still got a ratio of less than 1 to 50 for your total figure of 250 within the premises. My question is quite simply this: if you have 25 smokers out there, one, how is that going to be with a small p policed correctly to prevent disorder, because some of these smokers, of course, will have been drinking, of course, and you're moving some of the crowd outside. That's not to say there's going to be 25 there at any one time, but there may well be. And two, how will the premises stop intermingling so that other guests just decide to go and see their friends who are outside smoking, and you get large swellings of numbers in that small area outside?
Part of that. There is to be stationed outside or positioned outside a CCTV camera which is trained directly on the smoking area. In addition to that, we will have a minimum of one SIA door staff permanently stationed on the door itself. And his view to that roped off area is a matter of 32 feet. So it's very, very close indeed. Now, insofar as preventing mingling taking place and contamination is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, non-smokers and smokers together, how do you police that as a practical measure, Alex?
Unfortunately, it's very hard to say to somebody, you can't go and talk to your friend. I think this is what the cushioning of what Mr. Rankin was referring to earlier on. We would rather have it and not need it rather than need it and not have it, and create breaches in our license. It's the area that you've seen in the photos that we've sent will suffice. It's big enough with the right-hand side wall as you're looking at it, the picture above the map, which is of the smoking area. In that little L-shaped area there will be no noise pollution whatsoever. There will be, I think, 2 ashtrays, sanded ashtrays with area underneath for any rubbish that was come out. No glasses, no bottles, no alcoholic drink will be permitted to come outside the premises. So you're not going to have people getting comfortable and lingering outside. As for people talking to one another, it's very hard to regulate. I can't say to somebody, no, you can't talk to your cousin that you haven't seen for God knows how many years. But we will be regulating it. We will be, as you said, PC, it will be policed very well. I don't have any intention of allowing us any opportunity to act in any way how the previous owners did, and to have all this, what we're doing now, waste your time, Mr. Rankins, myself, Mr. Stegariou, Mr. Sims. I don't want to waste anybody else's time with regards to this. We want to get the license, start working, prove our point, so you can be happy with us.
All right, you make an important point there. We haven't volunteered it as a condition, but we're happy to volunteer it, that no glasses or containers should be removed from the premises. There's already a condition, I think, saying no off sales, but we're happy that there should be no glass containers or bottles removed from the premises. And that will discourage people from lingering in the smoking area.
Any further questions?
Just one more. Is it embedded, that area where the smokers are going to be, is that embedded within a residential area? Are there any residents in the local area that could be affected by that?
Two shaking of the heads, and a third from me, that there are no residents that overlook that area.
That's all I've got for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, we've come to the end of the questions, the representation from Mr. Rankin, but Councillor Ibrahim, have you any further questions? Or Councillor Da Costa, have you any further questions?
Not from me, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Da Costa, have you any further questions?
No, because Mr. Rankin's just answered the last question I was going to ask. That just popped into my head. So
okay.
Now, none from me.
Okay. Well, then can I ask each party to sum up? So can I call on Ms. Shah to sum up, please?
I can't, Chair. I'm not the objector.
We're done with the objectors. We're now back to.
Oh, sorry, there's a report.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're summing up now.
Yep. With regards to the conditions, obviously building control not being here, but the condition Mr. Rankin has put forward as a summary of works to be submitted, and only once has been agreed. by building control can be removed by the licensing authority, and then the hours are still up for whether on a Friday and Saturday, whether 2 a.m. will be permitted. That's up to the chair, and all other conditions, I believe, now have been met. Thank you, Chair.
And now, Mr. Rankin, would you like to sum up, please? Mr. Rankin?
Yes,
would you like
sorry,
to
it's
sum up, please?
so insulting for a committee that is as experienced as this one. You've got all the points. There's no need for me to go through them all over again.
Thank you very much. Well, can I just remind all of you that you've all summed up now, and that the committee will deliberate on their decision, which will be provided within 5 working days of the meeting. Can I thank you all for your attendance?
Sorry, Chair. I
And-
think PC Hewitt might want to sum
Oh,
up.
sorry. I do beg your pardon, Derek. Sorry.
No problem, Councillor Peacock. I'm used to being ignored by my wife anyway, so it's not a problem.
Sorry.
I will bow to you, no problem. It is a matter for the committee. Obviously, it is. I am encouraged by Mr. Rankins and the applicant's clarification tonight, and I welcome the fact that they said that they will be willing to put in the no glasses policy within it. And other than that, I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Can I say that this evening has gone extremely well? We've had no breaking of the computers, or the microphones have worked, and everything seems to have gone well. So now we're going to say bye-bye to all of you. Thank you very much for your attendance. And now the committee will discuss our answer to all this. And can I just say that you'll get a result within 5 working days. And again, thank you very much for your attendance tonight. Much appreciated how it all went so smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mum. Good night, everybody. Take care.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.